So you've probably been thinking about starting your podcast, and you've also been trying to figure out how to make money on your podcast. Well, I have one solution for you that could take care of both. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started on your podcast today. Anchor is the one place I use to record, distribute, and edit my podcast. It goes to Apple, Spotify, Google, and many other sources as well. As this ad that I'm reading now, it's a free ad that you get to do as well and to earn money on your podcast immediately. Anchor also goes out of their way to find other sponsors for you so you can keep that money flowing. So once again, all you have to do is download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started today and start your own podcast that you've been waiting for. Hey, you guys, how's it going? This is Lavelle Miller here with the Brave Way podcast. Like I told you all last week, the pod will be coming on a more frequent basis. A couple of notes real fast. The headphones that I'm using to record this pod tend to pick up a lot of extra background noise. So if you do hear that, I apologize up front. I'm still working out my audio setup of what I will be using for this podcast in the future. But anyway, back to the point. So, uh, congratulations to myself. I've completed my master's degree studies, so I do have a lot more time to divulge into the podcast, into streaming, into more family time, into more gym time, a lot more free time. But so it's going to be weird for me figuring out a balance, as weird as that might be for you all, because I've been going to school for 6 years straight. I've got my associate's, bachelor's, and master's degree now. But anyway, more to what you guys care about. This pod, I made a Facebook post about it a while back, and there's things that a lot of people may have not known that happened during my time of service upon my departure, and how I spoke before, how it's affected relationships and stuff like that that I thought were cool or whatever. But anyway, not to give it all away, if you know what the Facebook post is, you have heard it. And if not, check out the pod, learn more, and let's get to it. So, like I mentioned in the intro, I made a post about this a couple months back, but as I'm going through, not necessarily reflecting on achieving my master's degree, I felt like this is something that is worth saying again on a audio format. That way, more people can think about it, how it applies to their own life, and I guess it says like this: it's like what you're gonna get out of this is you know who you are, and it doesn't matter what other people may say about you or things that they do not know. But so it goes like this. So I was chaptered out of the army for failure to maintain height and weight. Uh, this was in April 2014 was when I officially was separated from the military. Uh, but the story of that goes deeper. Obviously, well, if it comes to hindsight, obviously I'm a bigger guy. If you guys see me compete or do anything or see me in person, you guys know I'm a bigger guy. Um, so when I get to, get to basic training, I lost 80 pounds by the time it was over with. Now, if we want to take this back further, the only time I've ever passed weight and tape in the military was when I entered the military. So to join the service at the time, between 18 and 24, you couldn't have more than 26% body fat based off of a archaic table that they used from who even knows when, right? So this measurement is where they only measure your neck and around your waist, and then they said that's how much body fat you have, which is anybody who knows anything about sports medicine. Not saying that I know a whole bunch, but sports medicine, um, physiology, and all this other stuff. That's not how. Uh, I may use the wrong word there, but that's not how your body fat actually works, right? Because if you measure somebody's neck and waist and then told them that they were fat, it's kind of weird because how I was always explained to it, going off a little tangent right here, how I was explained to it, it was like what the person's figure would look like if you drew it on a piece of paper. So the idea is if you drew them, that they would have like this V cut that obviously, in America, there's not a lot of us that have that. So anyway, um, I so I had a smaller neck, always had a smaller neck, um, and a rounder tummy. Never six pack abs, even when I wrestled and all this other stuff. So anyway, so when I joined the service, I was like I think I said it was like 247 or something. I think that was like the high end or whatever it was I weighed whenever I got there. Uh, so go through basic training. The smallest I ever was like I think I got to like 185 or something. So that might be more weight than what I said I lost at the very beginning here. But anyway, or less. So at the end of basic training, I failed um, my weight and tape at that point. Putting this in context for y'all too, I was in OSET. So OSET is one station unit training. So I was with the entire, like everybody I was in basic with, if we all passed everything, which most of us did, we were all through the basic training and the AIT, advanced individual training, where we learned how to be MPs all together, right? So I failed it at basic because I was an OSET. They was like, oh, that's no big deal because we still got you for another 14 weeks or whatever it was at that point. So they was like, you'll lose weight. But then again, they're like, you've lost so much weight and you're still failing weight and tape. But if people looked at you, they wouldn't think that you were fat, right? So you do that, go through uh, go through AIT, get selected for airborne school. You have to pass weight and tape again. I failed weight and tape at that point too, because like I said, I'm just an actual bigger guy with a smaller neck. Uh, my drill sergeant at the time told me, he said, Miller, you're a good soldier. You got one of the highest PT scores in our platoon. Uh, I'm not going to fail you or essentially fail you, chapter you out of the army because of this. Because I think we need to get to the point of where we recognize the soldiers and not their like physical body. Because he was like, if you're passing weapons and you're passing PT, he was like, it's not like you're barely passing your PT scores too. Like I ran a 13:37 2 mile uh, at the peak of basic training, right? And being a big guy moving that fast is, in my eyes, pretty impressive. And I could have probably ran faster than that, right? And sorry if y'all heard that annoying beep. But anyway, uh, as I'm belaboring the point here, get to airborne school, fail weight and tape again. They're like, there's no way you fail weight and tape this. Like, you just left basic training. They was like, whatever, man. Go ahead and do what you got to do. You have to do a PT test at airborne school when you get there, like most military schools, to make sure that they didn't send you some washed soldier. So, did the PT test, knocked it out the park. Then I got hurt in airborne school. Who cares? Get to my unit. My platoon sergeant at the time, well, my original platoon sergeant, he's recognizing PD school, recognizing weapons, recognizing I'm being a leader in my own right at this lower rank. Because I joined, I was 21. I was 22 by the time I got to that unit. So, and I was already a manager before the time, which some of you guys already know this. So anyway, so he knew all this stuff, or recognized it at least. It was like, Miller, I want to go ahead and try to get you a waiver for the next rank. PT test came up, knocked the PT test out the park. He was like, Miller, your waiver's in the bag. Do you think you're going to pass tape? I was like, yeah, Sergeant, I should pass tape. At this point in time, now mind you, when I failed it, these other times, like I said, I never passed after I joined the military service. I was thinking that it was still around the 26% mark because I wouldn't think that it would change. Well, go do it. I fail. My two sergeants like, how the heck do you just fail tape, fresh from basic training, fresh from airborne school, and all this other stuff? And I was like, sorry, I don't know what it is. It's like, then I think I was at 22 to 24% based off of this archaic measurement standard again. And I and I think I needed to be at 20 or something, 20 or 19. So skipping along other long portions of this, I ended up, I had hurt my knee at airborne school, had re-injured my knee when I was at the unit, blah, 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 blah. Still kept not passing. Well, anyway, when the new platoon sergeant came in, well, actually, so this what happened. They recommended me for chapter because of some issue with my knee that they wouldn't pass because they wouldn't let me get surgery on due to the fact that without physically seeing me, the ortho doctors were saying if I lost weight, I wouldn't have these knee problems. Even though that the knee problems, the issues I had and still have, did not come from weight. They came from injury sustained from training. So the physical therapist I was seeing said, I'm recommending you to be chaptered. The chapter, from my knowledge, had made it up to brigade. We was on rear detachment because our unit was deployed. Was like, wait, hold up. You want to chapter the soldier for his knee, and he has been flagged for weight for literally at this point almost a year and a half. And he was like, no, absolutely not. So came back down. Our platoon sergeant, I'm not a platoon sergeant, our company commander at the time, tried to see what he could do, not of asking or whatever, but he was like, it's out of my hands. He's gonna be chaptered. So we knew this was coming, whatever. Well, right before I separated from the service, or actually, one of my good buddies to this day, the only person I'm gonna name in this directly is Corey Calvert, or now he's Corey Webster. He told me when they were having PT, and actually, before I bring that up, I'm gonna say this too. So when I was doing my clearing paperwork, and I'm going to all these different places, right? At the time, once again, and I can speak for the time because things may have changed, but they don't seem to change that much. Based off of the weight control AR, which is, I can't remember what it is, you can opt to take a calipers or water table test. The problem is that's not the recommended. I'm not recommended. The authorized unit of measurement for body weight. So what does that mean? That means that I could have taken the water table, I could have taken the water table test or take the calibers test to see what my body fat percentage would have been. All that would have been is if I'm fighting it through with JAG and everything else about this chapter, is I wouldn't have been chaptered if my percentages based off of that was under the 20%. However, or whatever it was at the time. However, I could have not been promoted and I could not be eligible to be reenlisted. So, what does that mean? That means that I would have had to ride out the remaining 3 years of my contract as a private first class, seeing other soldiers that I've, came in beforehand, ones I've helped get ready for boards and stuff like that. Um, with a partner patrols with and everything, and was the lead on the partner patrol, whatever, da 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 da. They would have been my senior based off of rank easily by the time that would have happened. And I would have been able to sit there, made no extra money, and never been able to be promoted. And I couldn't re-enlist. So that's why whenever I was presented that option, whenever I was at JAG, I was like, no, just like it's a waste of everybody's time if there's nothing that's going to benefit me out of this, right? Because that way I can go make more money and doing whatever else I wanted to do. So anyway, so with that, so in the process of getting like doing all my clearing stuff, I remember this is a new platoon sergeant at this time. We was having a battalion football game against some of the other. I think it was brigade football game at this point. Or maybe it's still been battalion. I can't remember. But we was having a football game against these other brigades, battalions, whatever. It doesn't really matter. And I had nothing was open yet. It was early in the morning. I was walking there. So I was walking to go look at this event. And the platoon sergeant at the time, this new one, he tells me what that tells me. He asked me, he says, what the fuck are you doing here? And I was like, Sergeant, I'm here to support our battalion brigade, whatever it was, in this game. He was like, we don't fucking need you here. And I was like, Sergeant, I can't support my battles as they're competing. And he was like, did you not fucking hear me? We don't fucking need you here. And as he was getting ready to walk towards me, the first sergeant of our company was walking up, and then he turned around. He was like, you don't stand with us, you stand somewhere else. And that's fucked up, right? Now, if I was not gonna say word, don't mean to say fragile, but if I was definitely, I'm getting chaptered out. My wife was pregnant with our son at the time, that we didn't want anybody in the company to know, because that was extra drama and extra stress that would have been on her and on me, because we had just had Lavender and we already had Jasmine. So I went and I watched. They lost anyway. And I was just, in my mind, I was like, man, I can't believe that, like because it gets to the point, it's like, what did I personally do to you for you to feel this type of way, to have this type of anger about me being in the presence of the battalion? Like, did you forget all the good things I did as a soldier there because I didn't make height and weight standards? So anyway, so going back, so like I said, Corey Calvert, Corey Webster now. After PT one day, he tells me, he says, hey, Lavelle, man, I got something to tell you. And I was like, what's going on? He was like, platoon sergeant said he stopped PT. Check this out, dog. He stopped PT, and was like, he just said, because I guess somebody was doing like after whatever, he said, y'all are going to end up like Miller, with a pregnant wife you can't take care of. Not pregnant wife, sorry, because he ended up pregnant all the time, but with a wife with the baby, two babies that you can't take care of, um, going to be nothing in life, going to accomplish anything in life, and just like throwing every type of insult that you would imagine, he was throwing it towards me. And I was like, dang. I was like, for real, Calvert? He was like, yeah, man. So I was like, say less. So at this point, I'm like, look, I'm already on the way out. And if we men, we're men. So let's talk. So I was waiting for him one day after formation, and I was sitting there. He was talking to some other soldier, and I was sitting there for a while. And then he was like, Miller, did you need something to say to me? And I was like, yes, Arn. And he said, well, why didn't you say nothing? And then he was like, well, hold on. And he told the older soldier to come with him because he was like, I don't want anything that I didn't tell you to go back to somebody else. And I said, it's us just talking. So, uh, stayed in parade rest the whole time, everything being respectful. He told me to be at ease, and I just felt like for safety and everything, I just stayed that way because a lot of people know in the service, things are the same until somebody get mad and then they want to claim rank, right? And then they want you to get all proper and all this other stuff. So I just flat out asked him. I said, Calvin said that you called me everything besides a child of God, about this process of me getting chaptered out. And he said yes. And then he told me essentially the same thing that Calvin had told me. And, he was like, what are you going to do? He said, you're going to go back, uh, back to Tennessee, not have a job, not have this, not that, and all this other stuff. And, I had some of it, I was kind of explaining, like, y'all didn't give me a date until you said you're out in 2 weeks. So I said, you just put me out in 2 weeks. I could have already got an apartment. I could have already tried to get a job, but y'all didn't do that because that's how the military does a lot of times. Like, they quick to get you in, but when they, when it's come to getting out and all this other stuff, sometimes they'll play around with you, especially on the chapter portion. So then I have no life. You know what I'm saying? It's like you get out, and then people wonder why you have so many homeless veterans on the street whenever they get separated from the service because they do not, in my opinion, and I've been worked with a lot for that too. It's another sidebar. Excuse me. There's not a lot of preparations for you to separate from the service. Yes, there's ACAP. Yes, there's these other things, but there's not enough of the let me give you uh, PCS leave. It's kind of weird to say that too because when you're getting out, you're ETSing, but like, and it's not TDY because you're not going to training either, but some type of leave to where they could give you a month, like maybe 2 months before you get out, and you can go put in for jobs, view houses, all this other stuff. So when you're ETS out, you're not just out there trying to figure out everything from scratch. Anyway, so like I said, me and Calvin are good friends to this day. And I was like, well, now I see how how you really feel about your boy and everything else. It's like it is what it is. Like I ain't really do nothing to you. But all of this story, it goes back to it's like I was like, dude, you ran me through the mud for your other soldiers when you had worse soldiers under your command that were still in when I got out. Probably even in their whole contract. Worse than that, have had multiple Article 15s, company grade and field grade, when I was in, and they were still in, and then your boy was gone, like next to nothing, when it came to the weight chapter, which is, I ain't mad at that because, like I said, everything happened the way it was supposed to happen. And so God had to plan it out. God didn't plan for me to be in the service for a long time. Uh, because if he was, I'd still been there, right? That's how I feel. So people will be like, yeah, well, this is that and the third. Anyway, uh, I say that to say, like I said, the whole point of me like even giving out like this whole story is like when you tell somebody it's like you ain't gonna be nothing, you ain't gonna accomplish nothing or whatever. It's like you don't need somebody else's validation to drive you forward in the things that you are looking to accomplish or the things that you are attempting to do. You can do a lot of that stuff yourself. Some of that stuff is already built into you, and no matter what was going to happen, you were going to do it anyway, right? Because it's recognizing what needed to be done. For a short while, when we separated, when I separated out of service, of course we struggled. There's a lot of people who struggle when they first get out the service, just like that. And that was, and like I said, my turnaround for resolving a lot of that was within 6 or 7 months. And we've been fine now. Just bought a house here in um, this past August, and a lot of it is because, like I said, it's me knowing me and then deciding whatever it needs to do. The last time we had re-signed the lease for the apartment we was living at, I mean not apartment, but house. It was a house a rental community, where all rental houses. I had already told myself, all right, I'm buying a house. I'm tired of renting. I'm tired of paying all these folks for money and ain't getting nothing for it. The rent ain't going up my credit report. Um, Nothing. So I was like, my credit can't go up. And there was a lot of credit things that I was doing, and a lot of them said, they said the reason why your credit score ain't going upstairs is because you don't have no real estate information on it. Like there was a lot of things that I had seen that said that. It was like, dude, you said you got credit cards paid down, cars paid on time. It was like you just don't got real estate information on it. So they say you kind of stuck in the spot that you're at. So you know, there's like you got. Of course, they said you got old things on there that's kind of like doing something. They said at the point is they said they're so far gone. They said they're not doing any more damage to you. So uh, that was about it. So I was like, I set my mind to it. I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and do it and get it taken care of. When I separated in 2014, I was like, okay, I need a job that pays this, and then let me do something else. Even better on top of that, I got a job that paid what I needed it to pay at the time frame, and then it also did commission. And it was like, oh, that's perfect because that leaves it up to me to make extra cash without even having to worry about working a second job, you know. So we was able to do that, and then Erin was still working part time when she was pregnant with my son. And then, but like I said, by November of 2014, everything ended up working out the way it needed to be, to where she didn't even have to work. I was able to pay everything the way it needed to be paid just by myself. So, so I did that. Then I realized what things I'm trying to accomplish, goals I needed to do. I was like, I have to get in school. Got in school and got my associate's degree. Like I think I said at the top. Then I got my bachelor's, and now I got my master's. And like I said, the only reason why I'm bringing up like that other story or whatever before is because it's not that they motivated me to prove them wrong. I don't care about proving anybody wrong. I know the type of person I am. It's just that to me, it's like people judge you unfairly based off of something that you haven't did well, or you've done wrong before. And so that's why I'm just saying it to y'all. It's like think about that. We all have a story where there's somebody who's been questioning your worth or your intellect or your skill or your passion about anything just based off of one thing that you did. And look at it as now. And it's like something else too. It's like that matters. It's like I was a technical honor graduate in high school for whatever that's worth, and I screwed myself because I could have been an honors graduate. I just didn't care. Uh, like I graduated with a 2.995 or something like that, and I would have had a 3.1 if I would have did right at one class or something like that. I couldn't. This was a long time ago, but I was floating. well. I was above 3 before I ended up messing around in that class that I didn't need anyway. And then uh, my associate's degree flew by night. Just decided to just. I realized, oh, if I did this type of work or whatever, then I would get this grade and I'd pass. And I did the same thing for my bachelor's, right? And it almost cost me not even being able to get my bachelor's because I was playing around. And then so when I knew when I was in this master program, I said, okay, no playing around. Let me see what I can do. And I graduated with distinction, which is at this school. It means that I maintained over. I think I'll graduate with a 3.85 or whatever the accumulation would be because I had 2 B's and the rest of all my classes are A's that I had. But uh, but at this course, it's like with distinction means you never had less than a B in any class, and you you didn't have any C's in any of the coursework either. So every assignment I turned in was either B's or A's. Uh, but I did that for myself because I knew that I could. So yeah, I just leave it to y'all with that, man. Know your worth. Know um, everything you can do. And like I said, this ain't about turning non-believers into believers. And I don't mean this use it in a blasphemous type of sense or anything like that. But you know who you are. You know you have what it takes to survive and advance in life, and that's all that matters. No matter what you're gonna do, you're gonna have naysayers. You're gonna have some people that's gonna try to block um, your blessings and things like that. It's like you got to do what you want to do. Like one of my buddies, if you check out this pod or not, he wrestled um, for a long period of time until he won his first match his junior year in high school. Right? People would tell him, "Why does he keep doing it?" Because it's like it's what he enjoyed doing. He knew himself what he wanted to strive to do and be in the sport, and he did it. And a lot of people would have quit before him. There's somebody that I know that I've trained with, trained alongside with, not directly at my. He's came to our gym. He's from a different gym that people keep asking him all the time, why does he keep competing in MMA? And he's only won one fight so far. I've only won one fight so far, but he's only won one fight so far. When he had an opponent that was, depends on how you feel about it, he was severely overmatched when he came to him. And they asked him why he keeps doing it. And he said, because he loves doing it. That's all that matters. You don't have to worry about proving somebody else something, man. You know yourself. You know how much time you put in. You know how much work you put in. And then that's all that matters. So, thank you guys for checking out this pod. I hope you learned a little bit more about me, about this. Like I said, the situation isn't overall that important. I just bring it up as a point. I tell a lot of people as folks don't know that happened to me. Not that it's a big deal or anything like that. There's a lot way worse that happens to people. But like I said, I always look at it as a point. It's like these folks don't know you. Uh, and I guess I didn't cover this, but like I said, I think so. Revert back a little bit before I close it off. The reason why, like I said too, there's a brought up story. I said it's affected a lot of relationships and stuff that I've had. I thought I had is there's people that I served with flat out won't talk to me. Um, and I mean like let's say like I interact something on social media like comments that I have like completely ignored. So I stopped even commenting on stuff. Uh, People who have came to Nashville, right? Uh, and like they'll post something about it, and then be like, "Oh, I didn't know." And they'll be like, "Yeah, oh man, I said you swang through." And like, it's a difference with like, "Oh, you're on vacation. Yes, your job is not to hang out with me, right?" But it's kind of like, oh man, I said, kind of like when you say, oh man, you ain't hit me up, man, you was in my city, and a person responds to you with, I didn't know that you lived there. You kind of like, what? It's like, how do you not know I lived there? You know, that's like one of the things you talk about a lot of times when you at your unit, because you got a melting pot with people from everywhere, and different food creations or this or that or whatever. I'm talking about, dude, I had folks come to the crib for Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying? When I was living down there at Fort Polk, and these folks are brand new, fresh out the box, talking about they didn't know where I lived at, or I was here or anything. Uh, that's what's crazy to me. And I just say, I think that like that conversation that platoon sergeant had, um, I think it impacted a lot of these people, because it was like, oh yeah, man, he probably ain't shit. He probably ain't worth the time or energy to even talk to, consider da 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 da. And so that's how I look. That's how I look at a lot of that stuff. Because it must be true. Because it's like how cool I thought we was. We obviously must have not been as cool as that. So that's the thing about too. Yeah, you have people who got there and sabotage friendships or what have, or at least let you know maybe the friendships you thought you had with folks weren't real. You know what I'm saying? I think shortly after I made that post. Actually, it might have been longer than that, if that or whatever. Uh, I had another buddy. I mentioned his name too, Michael Bobovnik. We was in the unit together, and then he hit me up on Facebook, and we was chatting on Facebook, and we was having a good old conversation. And he told me about how this that platoon sergeant at the time, how he said he didn't appreciate. He told me, he told him he didn't appreciate how I was treated in the separation, and things along that line too. I appreciate for folks, to reach out, and tell me these things, and of course there's other ones that have said consistently over the course of the years. It's like you had like one of the worst chapters I've ever seen, and things like that. And the rules are rules. That's why I tell people all the time, I'm not mad at it. The rules are the rules. The rules need to change, of course, because like they're changing PT standards right now, but they're not changing height and weight requirements, which could make it harder for people to hit certain things, because you have to have a certain amount of muscle on your body to be able to do certain things, which means you're going to weigh more regardless. So anyway, yeah, before I get on another tangent, man, like I said, pod is back in effect. I thank you guys for checking it out. Like I said before, I got on that other tangent at the end. Hope you learned something about me. Hopefully you can relate it to something in your life and realize, you know what? Yeah, this person didn't know me how I think they should, leadership wise, otherwise, and I'm in a better place than it or not. I didn't need you in my life anyway. Uh, so remember, like, comment, subscribe, share the pod around. The pod will be back live in effect uh, more often than not. You're gonna at least get it once a week, maybe more times than that. I'm in a separate place right now than my office that I'll be doing my recordings at. But yeah, so this is how you become legendary. Greatness is earned.